Welcome back to Kat's Kitchen. My name is Kat, and today I'm going to show you how I make my favorite at-home iced coffee. I am in an iced coffee mood lately. I have gone through many phases in my coffee drinking journey. I started with just Keurig coffee and some creamer, moved to iced coffee, then some iced lattes. Then I was on a cold brew kick all of last year, like all of 2024 was cold brew. And now I am very much into brewed coffee, specifically using my Nespresso machine. Never thought I would say that, but I do. I genuinely love this coffee combo creation. I've been making it for 2 months now. I'm gonna show you the hot and the iced version because I love both. Let's jump into the recipe. Ingredients you'll need. Number 1, the Melozio pods. These are a medium roast. They're a 6 out of 12 on the roastiness scale, and they have toasted cereal notes, but it's also like a smooth, sweet, almost caramely type of flavor notes. Love, love, love. I got these in a sample pack from Nespresso and was like, oh my gosh, where have these been my whole life? I love Nespresso now. You need the Nespresso Melozio. I also love the decaf version. I will drink the decaf if 1, it's late at night, or 2, it's just the afternoon and I've already had enough caffeine in the day, which is what's gonna happen right now in this video, because it's 5 p.m. We're gonna make a decaf version. So you need the Melozio pods, whether it's regular or decaf. I believe they have like a super caffeinated version of Melozio. So if you want extra caffeine rather than decaf, they have that as an option too. Very, 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 very good. I've been addicted to this flavor pod. Next thing you need, homemade brown sugar syrup. I have a video of this recipe on my YouTube channel, and I also have the full in-depth written recipe on my website. I will link both in the description below. This is liquid gold, okay? Liquid gold, I promise you. So easy to make, so delicious. You're gonna become obsessed with it, just like I have been. I have used this in my coffees every day for over 2 months. You gotta make it. This plus this, heaven. Then I add heavy cream. I like heavy cream in my coffee. If it's too rich for you, if it's too creamy, if you're lactose intolerant, totally understand. Use something else. This is what I use. I'm showing you my recipe for this. That's all you would need if you're gonna make it hot, but if you wanna make it iced, you also need a giant cup full of ice. I do a 24-ounce cup full to the top with ice, like you can literally see ice all the way to the top. You'll notice they're larger ice cubes, okay? We're not using pebble ice or nugget ice for this recipe. The larger the ice cube, the better, so that they don't melt. We're trying to cool this down without watering it down as much as possible. I'm gonna use the decaf Melozio pod because I still want one of these, but it's 5 p.m. so. And then I have the Nespresso Virtuo Plus machine. I love it. Recommend it to anybody. Whoop, literally all you do, open it, place your pod here, push it down, and then there's a button on top that you just push to start. And I'm gonna add it into this pitcher because it has a little, what is this, spout, and it's gonna be easier to pour into my cup full of ice. But use whatever cup you like. And then you just push the button on top to brew this, and then we wait a couple seconds. By the way, I wanna mention this is a coffee pod. This is not an espresso pod. Nespresso has coffee pods and espresso pods. So the espresso pods are for like lattes, Americanos, macchiatos, mochas, that kind of drink. This is just a cup of coffee. Like if you were to pop a pod in a Keurig or make coffee in a coffee pot or like a pour over, like that type of brewed coffee or filter coffee is basically what we're making here. Cup of coffee, not espresso. And one of the characteristics is that it's 8 ounces of liquid or 7.77 ounces. Like I mentioned, this is hot. Like, OMG, this pitcher is hot, hot, hot. Careful you don't burn yourself. I'm just gonna add a little bit of my homemade brown sugar syrup into the pitcher. I don't really measure, I'll be honest. I just kind of do a couple circles, 1, 2.5 circles. I'd say it's about 1 to 2 tablespoons. I could guzzle this on its own. It is so good. It is, my husband told me not to clap. It is so good. He said it messes with the mic. Heavy cream. Again, I don't really measure, just kind of do a couple swirls. About 2 2-ish tablespoons. And then just mix that all together. And if I were doing the hot version, so just a cup of hot coffee, that's all I would do. This wouldn't be in a pitcher, I would just do it in a mug, but it is so good. And look, you can see it's nice and frothy and foamy, almost like you steamed the milk. I love it. It's so good. Okay, anyway, you can drink it just like this. I was hooked on this for well over a month. Delish. And then the other day, I tried it iced and was like, oh my gosh, delish. I'm an iced coffee drinker almost all year round. This was like a really weird fluke year for me. All of January, I drank hot coffee, which is something I never, ever do. Anyway, we're adding it to a cup of ice. I'm just using the pitcher because there's a nice spout, and I'm going to dump this back and forth between the 2 cups. So pouring this all over the ice. Try not to get just like one specific ice cube. You just kind of want to rotate throughout the whole thing. Pour it into your cup full of ice. There is still some coffee left in this pitcher. It's fine. Pour it back into the pitcher as much as you can and without spilling too much. And then add it back to the cup with ice and back to the pitcher. Do this over the sink so you don't make a mess if you want. And back into the cup of ice one last time. And you have the most perfect, beautiful, foamy, frothy, sweet, creamy iced coffee you will ever have in your life. Let's wipe it down just a little bit. It really should just... This is liquid gold, people. I'm salivating, you guys. Like, I'm genuinely salivating. I love this so much. I already made one this morning with the regular Melozio, and I'm gonna have this with the decaf because it's so good. Let's taste test this together, and then I'll give you a couple little pointers to make sure your iced coffee is thebomb.com. So good. It is so good. I haven't been this excited about it. Don't clap, cat. I haven't been this excited about an at-home coffee recipe in a while. Oh my gosh, it is so good. Very delicious balance of coffee flavor, brown sugar flavor, and creaminess without it being watered down. I need to take a breather. I'm too excited. Too excited. I'm also gonna add a lid. I love these mason jars with a little lid, and it has a straw hole so you can take it with you on the go. Adorable. I will link these in the description below, along with various other sizes of cups. And then I am gonna add a Java sock sleeve. Love these things. They just keep your coffee colder longer so that the ice isn't melting and then your hand isn't freezing off. You can take this, you know, for a coffee walk or take it to work with you, and then your coffee stays chilled and not watered down for hours and hours. Delicious and fabulous. Oh my gosh. A couple things that I just want to point out. Number one, I very much recommend following this process the exact same way that I did it, where I brewed the coffee first, added the syrup and the heavy cream together in 1 cup, and then poured that mixture over a cup full of ice. Things to avoid: brewing your hot coffee directly over ice. That's going to water down the heck out of your iced coffee. Okay, don't do that. Don't do that. Even if the Nespresso pod says brew over ice or for ice, you can make it iced. Just after you brew it, add your milk or your cream or your creamer, whatever you're gonna add to it to cool it down a little bit, and then pour that into your cup full of ice. Second thing, I mentioned using larger ice cubes. Use large ice cubes. Do not use pebble ice or nugget ice. Those little tiny pebble ice cubes are so little, they're gonna melt automatically, instantly, water down your iced coffee. We don't want that. Use large ice cubes. If you need to buy like the ice cube trays, fill them with water, do that. If you really wanted to not dilute this, you could brew a pod, let it cool completely, and then add that into ice cube molds and then put that in the freezer, and then use those coffee ice cubes, pour your hot coffee mixture over those coffee ice cubes. You can totally do that. I find once the coffee sits and chills for too long, right, like before you add it into the freezer, it tastes a little funky. So I don't love doing that, but I know lots of people do it, they love it. Could be worth experimenting. You just waste 1 pod if you end up hating it. 2 pods, because then the pod that you brewed, but you never know. You might love it. Big ice cubes, okay? Not little baby pebble ice. And then the third thing is to make sure your cup is larger than the original cup that you're brewing your coffee into. So if you have a 12-ounce coffee mug, get at least 2 times the size of your coffee cup. So a 24 ounce or a 32 ounce coffee cup, fill it all the way up to the top with ice. That way it chills that coffee as quickly as possible rather than the ice cubes melting, right? If you only have this much ice, you pour in this much coffee, it's gonna melt right away. Don't want that. The whole point of using a ton of ice cubes is that when the coffee hits it, the coffee is getting cold rather than the ice melting as much as possible. The ice will melt a little bit, but we want to prevent it as much as possible. And then the very last thing I do recommend when making iced coffee is pouring the mixture between 2 cups. The whole flow of pouring it between the 2 cups allows all of the mixture to cool off as quickly as possible. That way you're getting the least amount of ice melting into your cup, because you want this to have a good coffee flavor, not watered down coffee. And that's what this is. The first one, good coffee flavor. Well, if you can't tell, I love it. I'm just down in this right now. It's so good. And no, you don't have to use the brown sugar syrup. That's just my mood currently and what I've been loving. Use vanilla syrup, pistachio syrup, literally any other syrup flavor you like. You can even do like a white chocolate sauce or caramel sauce. Use whatever you like. I'm hooked on the homemade brown sugar syrup because it's so good, but you can use anything you want. And then you can add cold foam on top, whipped cream on top, whatever your heart desires. And again, you can make this as the hot version. Just stop after you add in the heavy cream. The process is done. You can enjoy your hot coffee as is. There you have it, my current coffee fixation, an iced brown sugar coffee. So easy to make at home, so simple. If you have a Nespresso machine, I very much recommend you try this recipe out. It is a 10 out of 10, actually like a 50 out of 10, let's be real. Whether you make the hot or the iced version, I hope you love either one. Let me know if you do give this recipe a try and what you think of it, and I will see you in the next video. Mwah! Got a blast. Blast, 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 blast.